The breaking news comes out directly from President Trump on Truth Social. President Trump put out a statement and said, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in a once great state. Thank you for the attention to this matter, President DJT.
So the Insurrection Act of 1807 is actually kind of an amalgamation of laws at the beginning of the Republic, some even enacted in the 1700s. They've been used over 30 times throughout our history by even some presidents like George Washington used that to put down some rebellions. What it now looks like is Title 10 of the U.S. Code, sections 251 through 255 kind of are the codified versions of what these insurrection laws were. And 252, Section 252, really is what is applicable here because it says, whenever the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call into federal service such of the militia of any state, the National Guard here, and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. Now, what's key here is that this has generally been seen as a very broad law, that the term rebellion is not defined. So that kind of infers that it is up to the president. Now, there was talk of this when he was sending National Guard to California.
Yeah, I remember this bubbling up.
But it was never actually invoked. And I think that's actually why a lot of the courts ended up saying you have to send the National Guard home. You can't just deputize them. You can't call them into federal service without this extra authority because of the Posse Comitatus Act. Generally,
maybe explain what that is.
Generally, the president and the federal government is barred from using the military for law enforcement purposes.
Yeah, within the country.
That's right. And that's a good thing. We generally don't want that. I mean, how many times have people on the right been concerned about martial law from other presidents?
That's my concern with this in general. And that's why I say you got to think long term on this. In terms of the way ICE is being used, the way that they are deputized, and we've had this discussion, which is, well, whose authority do they have? Well, who are they over? Are they over American citizens also? Is this just enforcement of people here illegally? It's a little blurry. And I think maybe that's the big concern. And it's sort of the problems we're running into already, which is, again, are they law enforcement? Yes. Are they your local law enforcement? No. So then what does that mean if you're a citizen of one of these states? If you're a citizen of one of these areas and you encounter ICE, what kind of laws are they? What kind of rules are they under?
Well, and I think this is where it gets more dangerous. One, you saw the governor, and this is also what differentiates it between what happened in California and what is happening in Minnesota. In California, Governor Newsom was criticizing the policies of the president, and he was saying, no, we don't need the National Guard because we've got it and we're taking care of it. So that was the argument there, that we are taking care of it, but also we don't think that you should be sending ICE here. When you look at what Governor Walz is doing, he is calling on the citizens to resist the federal government. The ICE agents that are enforcing legally deportation orders, going after people that are here illegally, that is their job, and they are allowed to do that. When you have a state that is actively, not just within their own policies, but also within directing their citizenry and their constituents to resist, you do get into an area where it seems like an insurrection act to put down a rebellion could be a logical use here. And so I want to hear, this is from last night. Governor Walz played a pre-recorded message on social media, supposed to look live. They had some tech issues. It happens. We've all been there, but not necessarily the finest moment at that point. But here's some of the rhetoric that he was saying last night. This wasn't a moment where he said, President Trump needs to bring down the temperature, but he is still instructing his citizens to push back. That isn't going to help anyone. That's only going to give more credibility to the use of something like an Insurrection Act. Let's play bite 5 when you hear from the governor of Minnesota, who has recently had articles of impeachment filed against him.
You're angry. I'm angry. Angry's not a strong enough word, but we must remain peaceful. Second, you are not powerless. You are not helpless, and you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger. Thousands upon thousands of our fellow Minnesotans are going to be relying on mutual aid in the days and weeks to come, and they need our support.
So the governor there is talking about how the people of Minnesota are going to be fighting back on the ground. Not his government saying we're going to go to court and we're going to try to get an injunction against this. No, he is saying that you can not just resist, so inferring continue to resist, but also how to help people who are in danger. Many of those people, I assume, are illegal migrants that are there that have deportation orders against them. So when he says this is of the president's doing, he in this address, he also said he wants more of this chaos. He wants more of this. What is chaotic is that the government of Minnesota is resisting. He's a very powerful individual. He is the governor of a state where this is taking place. Yeah, well, he can get on the phone with the administration. We even heard from Kristi Noem on Fox this morning. She has called him and tried to call him to talk about this, and he will not have these conversations.
Well, he's getting more airtime than ever.
Exactly.
I mean, he's being able to all of a sudden, Tim Walz is back to being a household name. And he hasn't been for about a year. Okay, because how many people I bet if you poll the American people, if you remember who the losing vice presidential candidate is, most people would at least have to think for a few minutes about each one. I mean, we could go back and go, okay, well, who was Mitt Romney? So Paul Ryan, yeah, that's okay. Now let's go back. Who was Al Gore's and Joe Lieber? No, who was
SNL even did that whole skit about Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine, that's right.
One election cycle prior, and the whole joke was no one knew who he was.
Right, and now you have Tim Walz, who had to have some egg on his face for a moment, saying, I'm going to not run for a third term. Now able to turn that around. I don't know what the rules are on turning that back around, but I have a feeling he could use this as a political stunt to rebolster that potential third term campaign, saying, look, I am the one who's going to be fighting back against President Trump. And then that becomes your entire campaign strategy. And look, in certain states, that will fly really well.
Well, and once again, what could the governor actually do here? Instead of saying, we need all of our people to help people that are going to be in danger of what? Being deported for not being in the country legally. Instead of doing that, what he could say is, I am the governor. I want you. I understand you're angry, but this is my job. Thank you, everyone, for raising your voice, but this is going to be my job. I'm going to use the Minnesota Department of Investigations. I'm going to use our attorneys here and my attorney general, and we're going to meet with the White House and with the administration. We're going to get it sorted out because they are going to want to get people that are here illegally out, but we're going to do this safely. And we're not going to have this. We're even saying we're not going to have them go door to door. We're going to work with them to get the people that are in our jails out. But instead, he's enlisting his people to resist and to he's invoking this kind of World War II era, like you're going to have to take people into your homes as if this is a Holocaust situation. He has said that ICE is the Gestapo before. He's continuing this narrative, and that is very dangerous for his people. He's not taking care of Minnesotans.